Hi, I'm Brian Nathanson from Clarity Product Management, and today we will be covering field-level security in custom investment types. So what's new? Administrators can now control, view, and/or edit rights for individual attributes on custom investment types. This functionality affects the modern user experience only. There are no effects to the classic experience. To administer field-level security, we added an attributes tile in the administration section. The access rights that you must have in order to set up field-level security are administration access and attributes management navigate. So you need those two rights in order to be able to control field-level security in the modern UX. Attribute security is defined using the common grid functionality. So I'll show you that during the demonstration. The access right is assigned to user groups only. So the access edit and access view rights on the field level security grid are assigned only to groups, not individuals. The administration list is again a common component grid. So you have the ability to export the list to CSV. You have the ability to see all of the attributes across all of the objects that are in the modern UX. You have the ability to filter based on the available columns, the ability to check the flag to secure an attribute, the ability to see the groups that have been granted view or edit access rights, as well as other generic grid capabilities like saving views and picking columns. Attributes that have been secured will have a new secure icon displayed for that visual indication that they've been secured, assuming that the user has the ability to view or edit them. There's also a new visual indicator displayed in Grid View, the Detail Flyout, and the Detail module. So that visual indicator shows up in all of the places you would expect to see that field. That's if the attribute is available for view and editing. If it's not, the field will just not appear at all. If you have the view access rights, you get that same icon. However, it will give you the little grayed out icon with the circle with the slash through it if you try to mouse over it to edit it, and it will also be in the grayed out font. And so you will see that grayed out in the Detail Flyout and in the Detail module and in the Grid View, Grid Flyout. Again, if you do not have access rights, you will not have any option to add the secured attribute to your view. If the user accesses a saved view where the secured attribute is included, then the view is presented without that attribute in an unsaved state. User without view access will see white space instead of the secured attribute in the Details Flyout and the Detail module. And if a blueprint section has no fields to which the user has access, the section itself will entirely disappear. Okay, so that's one thing to be aware of, is that if you have no access to any of the fields in a section, you will then not see anything at all. Business rules take precedence over field level security. So, for example, planned cost is calculated as a sum of planned capital cost and planned operating cost. If you grant edit access to planned cost, you still can't edit planned cost. Okay? It doesn't matter. So any business rules that we are enforcing take precedence over field level security. Field level security takes precedence, however, over your instance OBS and global rights for the data itself. Okay, so the idea is that if you are given the edit capability to edit certain fields in the modern UX, you will be able to edit them even if you wouldn't have been able to edit them through your instance OBS and global rights in Classic. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of, that there is a tweak there. Parameterized lookups honor field level security, but the hierarchy does not. We don't actually have the hierarchy, field level security in the hierarchy yet. So if you were granted the ability, for example, not to see planned cost, but you are able to look at the hierarchy and the planned cost is one of the fields introduced in the hierarchy, you'll be able to see the planned cost there. So it's not enforced for the hierarchy. Field level security is only for the modern UX, does not change classic UX functionality, and there are 5 fields that cannot be secured: ID, name, start, finish, and blueprint ID. And you'll get this error message if you try to secure any of those 5 fields. Just to reiterate, again, things that are not impacted by field level security. Anything in the classic user experience, which includes Studio, the reports and jobs, and the audit trail, Zog, gel scripts, process workflows, as well as the data warehouse and the hybrid data pipeline, which is the OData connector for our Clarity SaaS customers. Okay? the field level security doesn't do anything to any of these, right? So there's no impacts on any of those. Attribute security in the classic user experience versus the modern user experience. Okay? In classic, administrators could create views with attributes that they wanted to secure. The view display condition is set to only show for select specified user group members. Any object-based portlets could then keep the attribute secured by setting the attribute value protection, AVP value, to the use display conditions and secured subpages to protect attribute values on this list. And any query-based portlets would not honor that view display condition. Okay, so that was how you would do it in classic. And this AVP functionality was known for sometimes causing significant performance challenges if there were a lot of those conditions to evaluate. Okay, so that's one of the drawbacks of that model. A lot of people used it, but there were some drawbacks to the model. In the modern user experience, administrators secure attributes individually in the attributes section. Project and idea attributes, as well as custom investment attributes now, can be secured in a central place. Attributes are secured for view and edit access, and security is applied everywhere in the modern UX, except roadmaps and hierarchy for now. But what we mean by that is it's enforced in the grid list view, it's enforced in the flyout, it's enforced in the filtering, it's enforced in the details pages. Okay, so, and that's a little different than what was happening in classic, where it would only apply those conditions if you turned on the AVP, attribute value protection, in the list view so that it would look at the appropriate view in classic to determine whether you had access to those fields. So it's a much simpler, more streamlined way of managing access to certain fields. And with that, we'll go ahead and show how field level security works in terms of the administration, as well as what happens when you secure the fields. Okay. So, first thing is that we are now in that attributes tile. So if I come into administration and go into attributes, we will end up on a page that looks like this. Again, this is our common grid component. So in this particular case, I'm looking at attributes across all of the objects in the system. And this is a groupable grid, just like any other grid in the system. So I can group and see all of the attributes across all of my objects. And so if I do the grouping I did there, here are all of my project fields, here are all of my idea fields. It's very powerful in terms of being able to see all of the fields across all of the objects all at one time. In addition, if I wanted to, I could do things like, okay, give me back the, let's say I wanted to see all of the attributes that were on a particular database table. Now I have the ability to do that, and I can get back all of the attributes that are on the database table for projects, ideas, as well as any custom investment types that I might have, right? In other words, this is looking across the entire expanse of the system to be able to give you back just those fields that you have asked for. So I can do that for the database table. I can actually add that for the attribute itself. So if I wanted to say that I just want to see those attributes with planned in the name, right? I can do that as well and get a smaller, even smaller list that are on that table called planned. And you can see that now I have a few of my custom investment types here so that I can actually get back that information, right? So there's a lot of flexibility that is now built into this grid to allow you to identify which specific fields might be of interest to you for securing. Okay, so let me go ahead and pick up just some specific fields that I've secured. So in this case, we have our business outcomes object is our custom investment type. And what I've done is I've actually secured all of the business justification fields. For whatever reason, our organization has decided that only executives and the PMO can edit that field and finance can view it and nobody else can see it. Okay, so we now have that capability here. And so we'll go ahead and show what the behaviors are for those particular fields for the various types of resources. One thing to note before I do that, let's go ahead and take a look at, I want to play with one more field here. So let's actually go back to my default filter. And I just want to pick up the %complete field to make a point. So here's the %complete field, and right now it is not secured. And what I wanted to show is that if I come in here, I'm in as Ian. Ian is an administrator of this system. So you'll notice that the percent complete field is here, and if I added it to the flyout, I can add it to the flyout and basically be able to see percent complete here as well, and so forth and so on. And so I can do that and basically be able to make that type of display. Okay. What I wanted to point out, though, is that if you actually take this field and secure it, just by checking that box and it auto-saves, when I come back to the tab, you'll notice that the percent complete is now completely gone. And in addition, if I go ahead and go into the flyout that I just altered with the percent complete, you'll notice that it's not here either. And if I configure, the percent complete is not in here as well. This applies even to Ian as the administrator. So one of the side benefits of field level security is that if you as a customer have fields, especially out-of-the-box fields that you do not use and would like to make go away, you have the ability now to do that in the modern UX, because by checking that secure flag in the attribute section, you can make it disappear for everyone, including administrators, just by simply checking the flag. Now, obviously, the record stays here, so Ian can get it back if he wants. But the idea is that that secure flag basically makes it not show up for anybody, including in your filters, in your grids, in your flyouts, and so forth. So it can become a tool that's very useful for simplifying the system and making it easier for your organization to find the information that's of interest to you specifically within your investments. Okay, but now let's take a look at what's happening within our custom investment types. So if I go ahead into my business outcomes custom investment types, the first thing that we'll notice is that Ian has some of these shield icons. So in this case, strategy is shielded for Ian, but he can still edit it because he has those rights, so he has the ability to edit them. And if we come into the flyout column picker, you'll see that he has the shield against a few of those fields for feasibility and some questions that they want answered and the objective and so forth. So he has that shielding there. If we actually go ahead and open up the flyout, you'll notice that he has strategy in here with that same shield, but it's still editable. He can edit it here. And as well, if we actually drill all the way into the project and take a look at the details page, we can see here that we have those same shield icons for the lean canvas, for the persona, for the strategy and value, and all of this is editable for Ian because he has the capability to do that. But it's showing that these are secured fields if you don't have the edit rights. Okay? So that's for Ian. Now let's go ahead and log out, and we'll go ahead and log in as Dana. Dana's in our finance group, so if you remember from our setup, Dana does not have the ability to edit those fields, she just has the ability to view them. So the first thing to notice is that if I go to strategy for Dana in our business outcomes and I try to edit it, I get the little popover icon that says, sorry, you can't actually edit this. Okay, the second thing is if we come into the flyout, you'll notice that the strategy field here is grayed out with the dotted line so that she can't actually edit it here either. She can simply view it. If we drill into this particular item, all those sections that Ian could edit before, lean canvas, persona, and strategy and value, are read-only for Dana. She can't actually make changes to these fields, but she can see them, right? And so that's what happens if you have the view-only experience in this particular area. I should also point out that the same shields show up if you wanted to filter by strategy, for example. You can see that you have that same icon here to show that you can't actually, that it is a secured field, right? So that's for Dana, and that's what happens if you have the view-only settings. Now let's actually take a look and log in as Ray. Ray is somebody who is not in either of the aforementioned groups, but he does have access to business outcomes. But you'll notice the first thing when I come to the view for Ray is that strategy isn't here at all. And the second thing that happens if I come into the details here, you'll notice that strategy, which was here, there's now this white space because strategy has been removed from the view and everything else has moved up in place. Okay, so strategy doesn't show up for Ray there. If I actually come into the column picker and try to scroll down to where strategy would be, you'll notice it doesn't exist here in the alphabetical order. And if we actually come on into this particular investment, you'll see that the lean canvas and persona and strategy sections that we had before don't exist at all. So in this case, Ray just sees summary, planned execution, and settings. right? So those sections were entirely removed because Ray doesn't have access to any of the fields in them. Okay, so that is part of what's going on there. And so that is the implementation of field level security in custom investment types within the modern user experience.